Speaking test instructions. The speaking test is 20 minutes. There are 8 tasks in the speaking test. Please try your best to answer all the questions.
Start speaking now. Time is up. 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 Start speaking now. Time is up.
Catherine. This teaching abroad opportunity represents exactly the kind of experience that many people dream about but few actually pursue. Yet it comes with legitimate practical concerns that deserve careful evaluation. Nevertheless, the decision ultimately depends on your personal values, career goals, and financial situation. First and foremost, calculate the actual financial impact by determining whether paused student loan payments will accrue interest, whether income-driven repayment plans might reduce payments during low-earning years abroad, and whether the minimal pay truly covers all living expenses or requires additional savings. Furthermore, consider that a year out of your career field might set you back professionally in competitive industries, but could also provide unique international experience and skills that differentiate you from other candidates in increasingly global job markets. Additionally, evaluate whether your current career trajectory genuinely excites you or whether you're hesitating about this opportunity because you feel obligated to follow a conventional path that might not align with your actual desires and values. Moreover, teaching English abroad develops valuable skills including cross-cultural communication, adaptability, independence, and often language abilities that can enhance your resume in unexpected ways. Although student loans create legitimate financial pressure, consider that you'll likely be repaying those loans for many years regardless. And opportunities to live abroad while young and unencumbered by mortgages, families, or advanced career obligations become much harder to pursue later in life. Consequently, if this opportunity genuinely appeals to you beyond just escapism from current responsibilities, the experience might be worth the financial sacrifice and career pause. Additionally, you might negotiate the position details €, requesting slightly higher pay, confirming exactly what expenses are covered, or arranging remote freelance work to supplement income while abroad. Despite the practical concerns being real, many people who choose experiences over conventional career progression during their 20s report satisfaction with those choices decades later. The key is making an intentional decision based on your authentic priorities rather than defaulting to the safe conventional path out of fear. 2 years ago, I was struggling severely with anxiety and depression that was affecting my work performance, relationships, and basic daily functioning. I had always prided myself on being independent and capable of handling problems on my own, and asking for help felt like admitting weakness or failure. Furthermore, I had internalized messages about mental health struggles being something I should be able to overcome through willpower, positive thinking, or simply working harder. For several months, I tried to manage everything alone, researching self-help strategies, trying meditation apps, forcing myself to exercise, and generally pretending to others that everything was fine. Additionally, I felt ashamed about needing help with something I believed I should be able to control, and I worried about being judged as incompetent or unstable if I admitted I was struggling. The situation deteriorated to the point where I was having panic attacks before work, calling in sick frequently, and isolating myself from friends who noticed something was wrong but whom I kept at distance with excuses and deflections. What finally pushed me to ask for help was a particularly frightening panic attack where I genuinely thought I was having a heart attack and went to the emergency room. Moreover, the doctor, after ruling out cardiac issues, strongly recommended I see a mental health professional and explained that anxiety and depression are medical conditions requiring treatment just like any physical illness. Asking for help was incredibly difficult. I cried during my first therapy intake appointment while explaining that I felt like a failure for needing professional help. Additionally, I was terrified that the therapist would judge me or confirm my fears that I was fundamentally broken or weak. However, the therapist responded with compassion, normalized my experience, and helped me understand that mental health struggles are extremely common and that seeking help demonstrates strength and self-awareness rather than weakness. Over the following months, through therapy and medication prescribed by a psychiatrist, my mental health improved dramatically. The outcome was transformative, not just the symptom reduction, but learning that asking for help when genuinely needed is a crucial life skill rather than a character flaw. This experience taught me that our culture's emphasis on self-sufficiency can be toxic when it prevents people from accessing needed support, and that true strength includes recognizing your limitations and seeking appropriate help. This captivating illustration depicts a bustling science museum's interactive exhibition hall on a school field trip day, where students of various ages are engaging with hands-on displays and cutting-edge technology designed to make scientific concepts accessible and exciting. The expansive space features soaring ceilings with suspended models of planets and aircraft, polished floors reflecting colorful exhibit lighting, and clearly marked zones dedicated to different scientific disciplines. In the foreground, a group of elementary students wearing matching school t-shirts is gathered around a large touchscreen display demonstrating principles of physics, with one enthusiastic boy pressing buttons to launch a virtual rocket while his classmates watch. The trajectory calculations appear in real time. Meanwhile, their teacher is supervising nearby while taking notes on a clipboard, occasionally redirecting students' attention to specific educational elements within the exhibits. On the left side of the scene, an interactive robotics station allows visitors to program small-wheeled robots to navigate obstacle courses, with a teenage girl adjusting code on a tablet interface while her robot attempts to follow the commands she's programmed. Additionally, a transparent human anatomy model with illuminated organs is attracting a crowd of middle school students who are taking turns pressing buttons to highlight different bodily systems. The background reveals a dramatic dinosaur skeleton suspended from the ceiling, a bubble-making demonstration where children are creating enormous soap bubbles using rope wands, and a virtual reality station where participants wearing VR headsets are experiencing simulated spacewalks. Furthermore, museum docents in distinctive blue vests are stationed throughout the hall, ready to answer questions and provide deeper explanations of scientific phenomena. What makes this educational institution particularly valuable is how it transforms abstract scientific concepts into tangible experiences, inspiring curiosity and scientific literacy in young minds while demonstrating that learning can be engaging and fun, potentially sparking lifelong interests in STEM fields and contributing to society's technological advancement. Initially, the school group interacting with the rocket physics simulation will complete their virtual launch experiment, whereas visitors examining the holographic human anatomy display will gain comprehensive understanding of bodily systems subsequently. Children creating enormous bubbles will likely move toward the dinosaur skeleton exhibit for guided tours, while simultaneously, students wearing VR headsets will experience immersive scientific environments like deep ocean exploration or space stations. Meanwhile, the museum educator explaining planetary models will presumably lead groups upstairs to the aviation exhibit featuring suspended aircraft, and consequently, young learners will develop deeper appreciation for aerospace engineering. Furthermore, as the field trip progresses, teachers will encourage students to complete interactive challenges at various STEM stations throughout the facility. Despite the abundance of engaging exhibits, chaperones will maintain organized schedules to ensure all groups experience key demonstrations. Nevertheless, some excited students will request additional time at their favorite installations. In addition, the robotics programming station will attract technologically inclined visitors interested in coding and automation. In conclusion, this state-of-the-art science museum will continue inspiring future scientists, engineers, and innovators throughout the day, making complex scientific concepts accessible through hands-on learning experiences that transform abstract theories into tangible understanding. Douglas, I understand your preference for the memorial tree planting ceremony, but I believe the celebration of life gathering represents the better choice for honoring Margaret's memory. First and foremost, Margaret was known throughout our community for her vibrant personality, infectious laughter, and ability to bring joy to every gathering. And an uplifting celebration focusing on happy memories and positive stories aligns much better with who she was than a somber formal service. Furthermore, celebration of life formats explicitly encourage attendees to share personal stories and memories, creating a collective remembrance where Margaret's impact on individuals becomes visible and her spirit feels present through people's storytelling. Additionally, the informal, relaxed atmosphere makes the event more accessible and comfortable for diverse community members, including people who might feel uncomfortable or excluded by traditional religious funeral services or formal ceremonies. Moreover, celebrating Margaret's life rather than mourning her death honors the way she lived, focusing on positivity, connection, and joy, and provides comfort to grieving community members by emphasizing the gifts she gave us rather than just the loss we've suffered. Although some people might initially worry that a celebration feels too casual or doesn't properly respect the gravity of death, most participants in well-organized celebrations of life report finding them more meaningful and healing than traditional funerals because they focus on the person's unique qualities and impact. Consequently, we can structure the celebration to include both joyful remembrance and appropriate acknowledgement of grief, ensuring that people who need to express sadness have space to do so while the overall tone reflects Margaret's life spirit. Despite the traditional funeral service offering familiar structure, that formality might feel constraining for sharing the quirky, warm, authentic memories that truly capture who Margaret was. The tree planting ceremony, while symbolically beautiful, limits participation and doesn't provide the community gathering space that so many people need for collective grieving and remembrance. Don't you think Margaret would prefer we celebrate the joy she brought to our lives rather than following conventional funeral traditions? Douglas, while I appreciate the appeal of a celebration of life approach, I strongly believe the traditional funeral service represents the most appropriate and respectful choice for honoring Margaret's memory. First and foremost, traditional funeral services provide structured rituals that have helped humans process death and grief for centuries, offering familiar formats that guide people through the emotional difficulty of saying goodbye. Furthermore, the formal, respectful ceremony demonstrates the gravity and significance of Margaret's life and death, treating this moment with the solemnity that such a profound loss deserves. Additionally, traditional services led by professional officiants ensure that all important elements are included: eulogies, moments of silence, communal acknowledgement of loss, without relying on informal volunteer coordination that might miss crucial aspects or feel disorganized. Moreover, many community members, particularly older adults who knew Margaret longest, may expect and find comfort in traditional funeral formats that align with their cultural and religious expectations about how deaths should be honored. Although traditional services may include religious elements, These can be adapted to be inclusive and interfering while still providing the spiritual or philosophical framework that many people need when confronting mortality. Consequently, working with experienced funeral professionals ensures that the service honors Margaret while accommodating diverse beliefs and backgrounds within our community. Despite celebration of life gatherings emphasizing positivity, grief is fundamentally about loss and sadness, and people deserve structured opportunities to acknowledge and express those difficult emotions, rather than feeling pressured to focus only on uplifting stories. The memorial tree planting, though meaningful as a symbolic gesture, doesn't provide the comprehensive gathering and ritual that many community members need for closure. The celebration format, while well-intentioned, risks feeling too casual and may leave some people feeling that Margaret's death wasn't treated with appropriate reverence. Don't you think providing the traditional respectful ceremony that many community members expect better serves our collective need to properly honor Margaret's life and mourn her passing? Hi Jennifer, I need to call you about something urgent regarding your wedding photos. And I'm absolutely devastated to have to tell you this. First and foremost, I want to apologize sincerely for what I'm about to explain and take full responsibility for a serious problem that occurred. Nevertheless, I need to be completely honest with you immediately rather than trying to hide this or delay difficult conversations. Furthermore, during your wedding reception, my camera experienced a catastrophic malfunction that resulted in losing approximately half of the photos I had taken, including most of the ceremony photos. Additionally, I discovered this technical failure immediately after the reception when trying to back up the files. And I've been sick with worry and guilt ever since about how to tell you and make this right. Moreover, I understand that these photos are irreplaceable memories of one of the most important days of your life, and no apology can truly compensate for losing those images. Although I took every precaution I knew to take, including having backup batteries and memory cards, I clearly should have had a backup camera body, which is standard practice for professional wedding photographers, but which I didn't have as an amateur. Consequently, I am immediately refunding the entire payment you made for my photography services, as I absolutely did not deliver what you hired me to do. Additionally, I have a professional photographer friend who has generously offered to do a complimentary session where we could recreate some formal portraits and couple shots in your wedding attire, which obviously won't replace the actual ceremony and candid reception moments but might provide some meaningful photos. Despite this being the worst professional failure I've experienced, I wanted to tell you immediately so you can process this information and we can discuss what options might help remedy the situation. I completely understand if you're angry with me, and I take full responsibility for not having adequate backup equipment for such an important event. I'm so incredibly sorry. Jennifer, how would you like me to proceed in trying to make this situation as right as possible? Hello Richard, thank you so much for your generous offer to help with the wedding photo situation I described to you yesterday. First and foremost, I want to accept your offer to do a complimentary portrait session with the couple in their wedding attire, as this would at least provide some professional quality images from their wedding day, even though we cannot recreate the actual ceremony and reception moments. Nevertheless, before we schedule anything with the couple, I wanted to discuss the best approach for handling this situation and whether you think I should tell them now about the lost photos or wait until after we've done the recreated session. Furthermore, I'm torn between the desire to be immediately honest about what happened versus the temptation to minimize their distress by waiting until I have some solution in place to present alongside the bad news. Additionally, I recognize that delaying telling them means they won't know for several more days that half their wedding photos are gone, which feels dishonest even though my motivation is to reduce their pain by having solutions ready. Moreover, if we could schedule the portrait session for this weekend while they still have easy access to their wedding attire and the day is still relatively fresh, we might be able to create some beautiful images that soften the blow of the lost ceremony photos. Although your generous offer provides a partial solution, I know that recreated portraits cannot replace candid moments, genuine emotions, and the actual ceremony that I failed to properly document. Consequently, I'm leaning toward accepting your offer and arranging the session quickly, then telling the couple about the camera malfunction while simultaneously presenting the recreated photos as partial compensation along with a full refund. Despite feeling terrible about the whole situation, having professional quality images to show them might make the conversation slightly less devastating. What's your professional opinion about the timing of disclosure and how to approach this situation with the couple? Should I tell them immediately or wait until after we've completed the replacement session? Homeowners should not be legally required to install renewable energy sources like solar panels, as this policy would impose significant financial burdens while infringing on property rights, without necessarily achieving environmental goals effectively. First and foremost, solar panel installation costs range from $15,000 to $30,000 for typical homes, representing an enormous expense that many homeowners simply cannot afford, particularly low-income families, retirees on fixed incomes, or people with existing mortgage and debt obligations. Furthermore, mandating expensive home improvements creates severe inequity where housing becomes less affordable and homeownership less accessible to people without substantial capital, essentially pricing middle and lower income families out of homeownership entirely. Additionally, not all properties are suitable for solar installation. Homes with significant tree shade, structural limitations, roof conditions, or orientations that don't maximize sun exposure may not benefit sufficiently from solar panels to justify the cost. Moreover, renewable energy goals can be achieved more equitably and efficiently through grid-level renewable energy development, utility company mandates, and incentive programs for voluntary residential adoption rather than forcing individual homeowners to bear costs. Although climate change requires urgent action, consider that mandating solar panels transfers environmental responsibility entirely to individual homeowners rather than addressing the industrial and corporate emissions that contribute far more significantly to climate problems. Consequently, governments should focus on making renewable energy accessible and attractive through tax credits, rebates, and simplified installation processes rather than using mandates that punish people who cannot afford compliance. Additionally, technology changes rapidly, and legally requiring specific technologies like solar panels could result in homeowners being locked into outdated systems while better solutions emerge. Some argue that mandatory solar would accelerate renewable adoption, but this approach ignores that voluntary adoption is increasing steadily as technology improves and costs decrease without requiring coercive mandates. Therefore, promoting renewable energy through incentives, education, utility-scale development, and building codes for new construction represents more equitable and effective policy than requiring existing homeowners to install expensive systems regardless of their financial circumstances or property suitability. Jordan, you absolutely have to get to Champion Sports on 5th Avenue this weekend. While shopping for equipment with your cousin Brian, I discovered the most incredible limited edition basketball that would be an amazing addition to your collection. This isn't just any ordinary basketball, it's been crafted to look like planet Earth, with all the continents, oceans, and geographical features hand-painted onto the leather surface in stunning detail. What makes this absolutely extraordinary is how the traditional orange panels have been replaced with realistic blue oceans and green-brown landmasses, complete with visible mountain ranges, major cities marked with tiny gold dots, and even cloud patterns painted in translucent white. Furthermore, the ball uses genuine leather with a special coating that maintains the authentic grip and bounce characteristics while protecting the intricate artwork from wear during actual gameplay. Not only is it regulation size and weight approved for professional play, but each ball is individually numbered and comes with a certificate of authenticity signed by the artist. The store manager mentioned this is part of a World Unity collection with only 100 pieces produced globally, and they're being sold to raise funds for international youth basketball programs since the store has a strict no photography policy for their exclusive limited edition merchandise to prevent unauthorized reproductions. I couldn't take any pictures. Given your passion for both basketball and your international relations minor at university, plus the fact that you've been collecting unique basketballs since high school, this Earth Globe basketball seems absolutely perfect for you. They only have 2 left in stock.